Pizza Jaffa's orange rose. Microchips us. iPhone cameras us. Taco salads us. Torta lavados us. Olive Garden us. White Foster us. Sabra Hamas. Hasbara sus.
Welcome to Bad Hasbara, the world's most moral podcast. I am your host, Matt Lieb. How's it going, everyone? First, I want to say Happy New Year to everyone out there who is, for some reason, listening to this podcast. I don't know why. I make stupid videos online. Most of my career has been spent talking about shows like The Wire and The Sopranos. And for some reason, I get 3 episodes deep into a podcast about Israel and people start paying attention, that's great. That's great for me. You know, I'm glad you're here. Listen, I'm stoked. I'm stoked that people give a shit about this issue. I'm stoked that people want to engage with this topic more so than they have, I think, maybe in the past. I'm bummed as to why. The reasons for why people are getting interested are obviously super tragic and it fucking sucks. But at the same time, I'm just glad that, you got to start somewhere. And if it takes over 20,000 dead to get you to listen to a podcast by some guy about Israel, well then, hey, who am I to complain? Anyways, I don't know if you can tell or if this is any different. I'm probably a little bit I'm a little more whispery right now because of the fact that my baby is asleep. For me, I'm recording this on New Year's Eve because you see, we have a 1-year-old baby. Me and my wife, Francesca Fiorentini, who's a great political commentator, podcast comedian, podcaster comedian. She's great. She's my wife. I love her. We have a baby, and we couldn't both go out to New Year's Eve parties. So I said, being the magnanimous person I am, I said, go ahead. You go, and I'll stay home and watch the baby on the monitor. So I will be occasionally looking this way to look at the baby. Right now, she's asleep. So if that happens, I mean, who gives a shit? Who cares where I look? I don't even want you watching this. I want you listening to it. That's the other thing. This is my first time where anyone on the YouTube channel has ever given a shit about anything. Usually, we put out our episodes of Pod Yourself a Gun and Pod Yourself the Wire on this channel, and no one cares because it's the guys that they are used to listening to. We're going to see what we look like. It's a disappointment when you listen to a podcast for years and then you see what the guys actually look like, and you're just like, that's gross. So the fact that anyone's like watching it, listen, I'm happy. I love that you're watching it. The only thing is that because I've spent all of this time talking about shows that are very, very IP heavy in terms of clips. Most of this content is non-monetizable. Basically, the whole channel is non-monetizable. So, occasionally I think there will be something that has ads, but for the most part, where we are able to make a living is through people listening to the podcast. So if you're watching this, listen, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're watching. But you can also not look at me and listen on wherever you get your podcasts. Go to Spotify and shit. I know that's a bad one, but you could also go to Apple Podcasts. Apple, they're a great company, never did anything wrong. So yeah, that helps with the ad revenue and stuff like that. Also, if you're just like, no, I don't want to support these evil corporate fucking, that's good. I don't want you to. I don't want you to have to listen to ads. So instead, go to patreon.com/fraudcast. That's FROTCAST. And subscribe. $5 gets you all these other shows, plus this show, plus probably more stuff at some point. But lots of content. And it helps me out. It helps my podcast co-host Vince out. If you only listen to this show, you don't know who Vince is, but Vince is great. He's hilarious. He's a film critic. We do a bunch of shows together. I've known him for years and years. He was the best man at my wedding. Was he? I think he was. I was not his best man. No big deal. I don't feel weird about that, but at the same time, he could have asked. Anyways, patreon.com/Frogcast. Join now. Just do it. Help. Because if you're watching this, that means you're getting the content for free. And listen, I had to stay home to make it. So, let's talk about what we all came here to talk about. The Wire. Just kidding. Israel. That is what we're here for. That is the reason for the season. And I got to say, 2023, what a year. I was looking at all of the, around this time of year, there's a bunch of news wrap-ups. What happened this year? It was Beyonce did a tour, but so did Taylor Swift. And I was watching one of those, and I realized I have no memory of any events from this year, news-wise, before October. I was desperately trying to think what are they going to talk about? And I was the Queen died? No, that was 2022. Matthew Perry died. That definitely happened this year, but I couldn't think of any news stuff. There was a strike, there was the auto worker strike. There was a couple of Hollywood strikes that happened, but I just kind of realized that I was man, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but the last almost 3 months now have seemed like an eternity. It feels like the year started October 7th, and we have it feels like that was in January, and now we're right about to hit 2024, and I'm that's all the news. That's everything. That's and maybe that's just me, and maybe it's just you too, because certainly a lot of other shit happened. I'm certain. Listen, for me, the majority of the memories I have from this year is watching my little baby grow, which is nice. But in terms of world events, shit, man, what the fuck else is there? Seems like this is it. And what a bummer. What a horrible year. You know what? Fuck 2023. Bullshit ass year. Just all around bullshit ass year. I mean, I can't remember why, other than this shit, other than fucking Israel deciding to do a public collective punishment in a way that is so brazen that we're all just supposed to just look at it and go, I don't know, I guess they're allowed to do that. I'm too stupid to understand why that's allowed. But it must be because no one's stopping it. So, okay. But yeah, it's been a shitty year. I think we can all agree. I mean, it seems like across the board. I mean, there's a lot of good things happened, I'm sure, individually, personally, with a lot of people. But I don't know. I know far more people who are man, what a fucked year. It's just what a fucked year, man. And I'm not going to do a look back into what happened. No, let's stay present. Hell is happening right now, guys. We don't need to look into the past for hell. We're in it, baby. So let's talk about it. Let's rein in the new year. Although by the time you're listening to this, New Year has happened. With, just a real quick update. What's going on? What's going on in the Holy Land? Anything cool? Anything fun? Anything great? I'll look into it. All right. Let's start out with an Israel update. Oh, by the way, as you can see, there's no guest today. This was just a random thing. I just decided I was going to make this because like it was either this or play fucking video games, and I was like, I'm not going to do that. You know, I gotta do other shit. All right, so let's see what is going on with the Israel-Hamas war. All right, so Israel-Hamas war. I put war in quotes. I know that. So this is AlJazeera.com. Let's start off with putting war in quotes, guys. I think seems only fair at this point. You know, like how's this a? I don't think this counts as a war. I think a war implies two armies, even if they're unequal. They're still like armies. These motherfuckers like. Hamas is in tunnels. Also, they're not really killing Hamas. They're just killing civilians. Okay, so Israel-Hamas war live. It's my favorite NBC Saturday night show. Israel war planes bomb central Gaza as 2024 begins. Hey, why did I do this podcast? We got fierce ground fighting, which is going on in the center of Khan Yunis. Israel says it will withdraw reservists from its Gaza ground invasion so troops can, quote, gain strength for future battles. Well, that's nice. That's good. Let's get the reservists out there. The U.S. Army has attacked 3 Houthi boats in the Red Sea, killing at least 10 fighters. Oh, we got those Yemeni Houthi fighters. And at least 21,822 people have been killed and 56,451 wounded in Israeli attacks on Gaza since October 7th. The revised death toll from October 7th attack in Israel stands at 1139.
It's time for bed.
Fuck off. I think my Alexa just fucking shaded me right there. It's time for bed. It's time for you to shut the fuck up. I'm telling the news. I'm telling the news to whoever the fuck's listening to this shit. Because my baby's asleep and my wife is at a party. Don't tell me what to do. Alexa, never tell me it's time to go to bed ever again.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
This fucking bitch just, I just got smoked by an Alexa. God damn. All right.
I'm not sure.
Alexa, don't talk. All right. She listen to that. I'll show who wears the pants in this relationship. Let's check on the baby. This is one of those podcasts that I'm like, should this have just been a stream? Probably. But I gotta start a stream, then I gotta tell people to join the stream. Anyways, so that's what's going on in Israel so far. Today, those are the things that we're dealing with. That's your news update. I'm gonna get a little sting going. I'm gonna have like a sting that goes like news update. That'll be good for me. That'll be fun. So today what I wanted to do while my wife is out at a party, I wanted to go through just these are a few bits of news and Hasbara from friends and or listeners of this podcast. And the first is going to be from a wonderful, wonderful person. My co-host, Vince Mancini, co-host of Pod Yourself and the Fraudcast. Vince Mancini sent me this little bit of news, I suppose, that I had to share with you guys because it's just one of those things where you're just like, you look at it and you go, okay, this is history repeating itself all over again. Ladies and gentlemen and everyone else, from Itamar Man at Itaman. Oh boy. Let's see. From Israel's Channel 12, quote, Tony Blair to head team on voluntary evacuation from Gaza. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Brits are at it again. That island filled with the ugliest people you've ever seen, and then a few really, really hot ones, but mostly uggos, at least the ones in Parliament, have decided to send their best and their brightest, their number one fan of killing Arabs overseas, the one and only Tony Blair. That's right, Tony Blair. You might remember Tony Blair from such hits as the Iraq War. Remember that? Yeah, you probably do. So let's see what this says from Channel 12. To deal with the, quote, day after issue, Tony Blair arrived in Israel for a series of meetings. Okay, so the former Prime Minister of Great Britain arrived in Israel last week and met with Prime Minister Netanyahu and Minister Gantz, the goal to mediate between the Israelis, the Israeli desire regarding, quote, the day after, and between who? Is it the Palestinians? Is it Hamas? Is it anyone? Is it the PA? No, and of course not. It's the moderate Arab countries. Gotta talk to them moderates. The thing about self-determination, it's always best when it's done by the not yourself. For Palestinians, I think we can all agree that the adults are in the room now. You've got Tony Blair, great track record of doing regime change. And the, quote, moderate Arab countries being like, all right, so what are we going to do once we complete the ethnic cleansing of Gaza? Well, we certainly have to move them somewhere, right? Because we can't it's not ethnic cleansing if you don't get clean. So let's talk to the, quote, moderate Arab countries. Let's go through this article. Although the issue of, quote, the day after has not yet been discussed by the government. Okay. It is harnessing regional and international actors. Jumping the gun, are we? Okay, let's do it. Let's get in there early and have this conversation. Let's do the discourse before the government does. Because if there's one thing I'm certain of, is that the government has not begun to consider what happens the day after. Also, the day after what? The day after, I would say that what they would say is, well, the day after we win the war. What does winning the war look like? I'm pretty sure the day after, if I had to guess, if I was going to guess, I would say the day after, probably the day after not only, quote, Hamas surrenders, because they won't say Hamas surrendered until they have begun the process of completely evacuating, quote unquote, but completely expelling the vast majority of Palestinians from Gaza. Then eventually, once they reach around 300,000, 200,000 Arabs from 2.2 million, they will say, oh, that's it. They're gone. The Hamas has surrendered. Yeah, so that'll be nice. Blair met with both Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Minister Gantz, that's Benny, in meetings that were not told to the public. The goal is for him to be the messenger who will actually mediate between the Israelis' desires regarding, quote, the day after, and between the moderate Arab countries. In addition, he will also re-examine the possibility of accepting refugees from Gaza in the countries of the world. Okay. Now, you do wonder what the countries of the world are, but we will see. Tony Blair is actually dealing with, quote, the day after without the government itself deciding or drawing the political lines on the subject. This is against the background of the fact that Netanyahu prevented the discussion in the war cabinet regarding the situation in the Gaza Strip at the end of the war. Only next Tuesday will the political and security cabinet discuss the issue, and also partially and not in all the components. And this is translated from Hebrew, so I would say there's a little lost in translation there. But also partially and not in all the components. That just means they'll get a broad political consensus that we have to do something with the Palestinians on the day after. And I think they're saying it won't actually be up to you. You gotta love the greatest democracy in the Middle East, don't you? They're just so great at it. They're so good. On behalf of Tony Blair, it was stated in response, quote, the reports that Tony Blair has something to do with voluntary evacuation are not true. There was no such discussion, and he does not intend to consider it either. Regarding the discussion that was planned 3 days ago and was postponed, Religious Zionism issued a statement in which they were outraged that the move was done without authority. Then, a few hours later, Netanyahu decided that not the limited cabinet would discuss this issue, but the expanded cabinet. Okay, which also includes Ben Gvir. Listen, if you don't know who that is, bless you, bless your heart, and welcome to this horrible world. But Itamar Ben Gvir, if you need to know about him, which you do, it is very important. He is a far right wing extremist in the government of Israel, in the Knesset. His party, which I believe only has a handful of seats, is basically considered Zionist fascists. That is the general consensus among Israelis, that they are a fascist party in Israel. Now you have to consider being far right in Israel is really fucking far right. I mean, you don't get much more right than that. Like that, like the only reason they don't say Zionist Nazis is because it would offend themselves. They would accuse themselves of being anti-Semitic if they were to say that. But I think it is fair to say, and they do say, they are fascists. And at some point we'll, do a deep dive into what politically their stances are. But I mean, I think you can imagine it's pretty disgusting in every sense. But that's good. They're going to expand this for everyone to hear about. It's not just going to be their, limited cabinet, whatever the fuck that is. It's going to be everyone. They're going to get the whole Knesset involved to discuss the day after. Yeah, that is pretty fucking dark. And Happy New Year to all. And to all, good night. Oh no, that's not it. We're still going, and the reason we're still going is because my wife is still out at a party. I wonder if she's having a good time. She probably is. Yeah. Stop sharing that. Oh man. So thank you, Vince, so much for sending me fucking. I just think it is insane to me to bring Tony Blair aboard. I mean, it makes a lot of sense if you are, Netanyahu or a Zionist, because it is bringing on the, regime change expert. This is a guy who, was one of the few world leaders in Europe who, due to his special relationship with the United States, decided, go into Iraq. Yeah, do that. Yeah, no, we're right behind you. And of course, in the UK, people very quickly caught on to that being a huge fucking mistake. They caught on faster than we did, I'll say that. And the fact that they would, bring him in to discuss, it's just like, why do the British always have to be there to fuck up Palestine? Like, it's one of the things that the British are the best at. The British love to go, oh, hello, we are a country right here. We got Arabs and we got the Jews, yeah? We're going to just mash it all up cut it into bits of little pieces, yeah? And just like draw borders. I can't do a British accent. I'm sorry if you're British and listening to this. We gotta cut it and mash it and make a border here. Make sure it's a square, yeah? I'm gonna go through all of the Middle East and make a bunch of fucking squares. I'm gonna draw lines left and right. You ever look at a map of any like colonized continent? Like if you look at Africa, you know it's colonized because you're like, that's a lot of fucking squares, man. These are not natural borders. Like, look at the borders of actual, like, of countries in Europe. You know, you could tell that there's like a natural, quote unquote, borders. Not that any border is natural, but like they decide, you know, where France ends and Switzerland begins, right? Or like where fucking Germany ends and like based on probably, you know, I mean, obviously, lots of wars, but also there's a natural element to it where they're like, oh yeah, we've got the Alps here. That's Switzerland, you know. But like you look at a map of any, you know, European colonized part of the world, and it's just like a grid. It's just like, okay, you got that square Belgium, you got that square France. I'm gonna take the square below that. I'm Britain. And I'm gonna take this square. And just like, it's just so fucking disgusting. Like at some point, like if you're a British person, aren't you like, oh, we should leave it alone? We've caused nothing but trouble, yeah. Every time we go to the Middle East, we fuck it all up. It's all bungled, isn't it? We bungle it. I want to make sure I'm not waking my baby. Nah, she's asleep. We fuck it all up, yeah. But, you know, they can't help themselves, man. They're just like in that fucking weird ass parliament building, yelling at each other and Cockney. Oh. Oi, bruv, let's go straight to Gaza, yeah? Let's go to Gaza and we'll tell them where to go. We'll go to the moderate Arab states. We'll go to Jordan and fucking Saudi Arabia. Like, what are I want to know what the West considers the moderate Arab states. Are they the ones that are more amenable to doing oil deals with us? I have a suspicion. That's just a guess. If I had to guess, I'd say that's what it is. But yeah, no, good. You know, I'm sure Tony Blair will figure it out. You know, it's always nice to put a British face on ethnic cleansing, you know, for continuity's sake. It feels right. Yeah, so that's hell and awful and everything's bad. Everything's so bleak. At least there's British people. Yeah, so another thing that was sent to me, sent by friend of the show, Ido, who is from Rehovot in Israel, listens to this show and is actually helping me make a little remix of the theme song, which I appreciate. I appreciate his musical skills. He's a very talented musician, and he also, if he listens to, not because he listens to the show, but since he listens to the show, he is I think one of the unfortunately few amount of Israelis who understands that Israel not the good guys, which you know, it's always heartening for me to talk to Israelis who get this, who understand this, you know. And of course, you know, there's all sorts of like political views in Israel. There's a wide spectrum, but I'm always so bummed by just how hard it is to find someone in Israel who is willing to have a sense of humor about themselves and is also willing to admit that, yeah, fucking, you know, there's good guys and bad guys. If we're gonna be honest, Israel not the fucking good guy, and he understands. At least I think. I mean, yes, he does. He's a great guy, and he he sent me this to kind of talk more about the day after. And this is a phrase we're going to be hearing a lot. And we have heard a lot if you've been keeping up. Talks about the day after. What happens the day after the war? Oh, fuck. That was it's a firework. What happens the day after? And I talked about earlier, what is the day after the war ends, the day after Hamas, the day after Hamas surrenders is what they would say. Which, by the way, if we're going to talk about that meme for a second before I get into this, when they say the day after, and they talk about, one thing you'll hear a lot is, Hamas could end this all. They could end it tomorrow if they just surrendered. All you people out there calling for a ceasefire, why don't you call for Hamas to surrender? That is a pretty bold, bullshit ass statement that has been made. And you'll notice that it replaced something. It replaced, why don't you, instead of asking for a ceasefire, ask for the hostages back? They stopped doing that because they just kept killing their own hostages. And they quickly realized that that itself is not the ends that they are actually going for. The hostages returning is not, if they got every single hostage back, they would not stop. And that is, I think, made perfectly clear in this insane video that I'm going to be playing for you all right now with just one of the biggest pieces of shit on here. What's this fucking guy's name? All right, I'll play you the video. But yeah, here is a little bit about these statements regarding whether or not getting the hostages back would do anything. This is from David Michael. Holy fuck, these Zionists fucks are evil, despicable racists who want to wipe Palestinian people off the face of the earth. Yes. All right, here we go.
And I want to say something. I kind of listened to everybody, and I don't know if this is the question you wanted to ask me, but I listened to all of you, and everybody's talking about the hostages, and absolutely, they have to come back, all of them. However, this is not the end. The fact that the hostages are going to come, it's not going to end something. It's just going to be the beginning of us taking care of this, because I am not okay with living across the border of 20 or 30,000 rapists. I'm sorry. Are you? I'm done. They have proven themselves to be, to not be, fully intact. Okay, and Leah and I had a conversation about it. I feel like these are all mostly sociopaths.
Sorry, what's that? I didn't know Lee Kern was there.
Leah and I had a conversation about it. I feel like these.
Yeah, we done talked about it. Yeah, we had a conversation. Yeah, we had a conversation about it. Even if we got them hostages back, yeah, we ain't gonna live next to rapists. Look at me and Michael Rappaport. You think either of us have ever raped someone, yeah? No, we never did rape. He's fucking weird. He's got his fuck Hamas shirt on. Oh, God. Lee Kern. Me brain is leaking out me skull, mate.
These are all mostly sociopaths. Psychopaths are born, sociopaths
Sorry,
are made.
Can you tell people what your professional
Right, so
qualifications are?
I am a psychotherapist and a licensed clinical social worker. I do psychotherapy. I've done it for a living for a long time. And I have to say, when you talk about psychopaths are born, okay? And it's a very small percentage in the population. Sociopaths are made.
I'm sorry, but I like the idea that she's like, listen, I don't think we should be denigrating psychopaths here. A lot of us are just born that way. I'm born that way. Fucking Alon's born that way. Lee is born that way. Michael Rappaport born that way. But these guys, they were made into sociopaths, which doesn't that let them more off the hook? I'm sorry, but that the idea that they're just like, no, these guys were made that way. It's like, okay, if you want to go that direction, how what made them that way? Like, what do you think drives people to sociopathy? I could think a couple things that may make person from normal guy into sociopath guy. But not off the top of my head. It could be anything. It could be anything. You know, it could be like girl didn't invite you to prom and turn you sociopath. It could be you pick last in softball. It could be 75 years of being exiled and killed and tortured, and having your water cut off, your power cut off, your wells get cement poured in them, your family dying in front of you, your children dying in front of you, watching people get poisoned, and watching your whole life be under surveillance by a state that wants nothing more than you either dead or gone. Could be any of those things drives people cray.
And I live across the border in a lovely place, in a lovely town, where they are made daily. And it's time for us to stand up for it and say, enough is enough. I am not interested. And I have to tell you, and I'm going to speak American for a second. When I used to live in the U.S.,
Oh, God.
Every time I would move to a different place, I would look in the map and see if there are any pedophiles or sex offenders around me, right? In a radius of, 5 miles, 10 miles. Where I live in like 3 miles away from 20,000 of them. And I'm not okay with it, and I don't think I'm safe, and I don't think my kid is safe, and enough is enough, and never again means never again.
That is it's the most insane thing. The most insane fucking thing is to make your argument about ethnic cleansing being just like to justify your ethnic cleansing in that way, where you just go like, listen, I can't live across the border from a place that has, X amount of like rapists or pedophiles or, fucking Nazis and all that stuff. And then your solution is like, so in order to like not get fucking genocided, we got to do a preemptive genocide, guys. We got to preempt their genocide. You can't kill all of us. We're going to kill all of you first, because we're the good guys. Let's hear what else they have to say.
We're not going to talk about any details or stuff, but I know that Michael saw that 47-minute film the other day, and I saw it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was, amongst the many reactions I had, as someone who was in a safe room watching it, and it affected me deeply, even though I was physically safe. So I can only imagine what it's like for the people who've been directly in these situations, what they'll have to get over with.
Yeah.
But just one weird response was, I spent a week just
directly
saying,
in it.
I don't understand what I saw. Like almost like a little boy saying, I don't understand it. What happened? I don't understand. I couldn't.
You're definitely a little boy, Lee. If there's one thing I know about this guy, oh man, there's just so many characters. Like at this point, anyone listening or watching this podcast, I have to assume like some level of like the only reason that you're actually listening to this, if you don't know me from, listening to my other shit, is because you are very familiar with this particular world of the online Twitter Zionist. And like, if you don't know Lee Kern, at some point, again, I'm going to have to introduce all y'all to Lee Kern. I can't get into all of it right now. Suffice it to say that his claim to fame is that he tried to dunk on Boots Riley, the director, writer, and rapper, he tried to dunk on him, saying that he would never. He said, Academy Award nominated screenwriter here. You'll never make anything of worth, because Boots was, is an anti-Zionist Jew, and he was, speaking truth. And Boots Riley dunked on him by pointing out that his nomination that he's talking about is for Borat 2. He was one of 8 writers on Borat 2, and he's bragging this. He's just a beautiful, sad little man. But just like this entire conversation is just such insane. And again, this is like, to me, not an example of Hasbara, because it is not. I don't think I can't imagine it is intended for an American audience. I mean, it is. I guess because of the framing. The framing of this is being like, would you live next to 20,000 rapists? I'm sorry, but like, I probably live next to 20,000 rapists in Los Angeles. I live in LA. 20,000 seems low. I'm sorry, but are you really claiming 20,000 rapists, like this very specific number of rapists, are a reason for genocide? You fucking sow. Like, just imagine the gall. Imagine the fucking weird online BuzzFeed brain of just being like, we have to final solution people because they do sexual violence. And it's just like this idea of like trying to justify these acts by by utilizing kind of like the language of social justice. It's like, and they've done this forever, in my entire lifetime, when it comes to the war on terror, when it comes to like reasons to kill Arabs. The way they sell it to liberals is always in the language of social justice. Oh no, it's not that we hate their religion, or we hate them for being brown, or for whatever. It's like, no. And we don't hate people's like DNA. No, that would be Nazi. No, we hate them because they're problematic, because they make women cover their hair. I mean, they're not feminist, that's for sure. We hate them for that. We hate them because they do microaggressions that sometimes turn into macroaggressions. They're just problematic, and we need to murder all of them. And it's just like, it's so insane, because at this point I can't imagine that people are buying it, but apparently people still buy this shit. I don't know how, but they still fucking buy it. I went off on this tangent. I wanted to talk about Ito's thing that he sent me, because we talked about this earlier, the idea of the day after. And he sent me this post where a minister in the Knesset, I assume, to Sofiova, I'm going to have to find out what some of these are. But let's see. He was saying that this translation was pretty perfect, pretty dead on. If we act strategically correctly, there will be immigration, and we will live in the Gaza Strip. So there will be Israeli immigration to the Gaza Strip, which is, part of the end goal. The other end goal is we will not allow a situation where 2 million people live there. And when they say people, they're specifically talking about Palestinians. If there are 100 to 200,000 Arabs in Gaza, all the talk is about the day after will be different. All the talk is about the day after will be different. They want to leave. They have been living in the ghetto for 75 years and are in need, which, earlier I was saying, like, you can't do these like Nazi comparisons, because then, they have to start calling themselves anti-Semitic. But I will say, in Israel, they do pretty often do the Nazi comparisons. in the West, if they see someone doing it, they say, wow, how dare you? But they talk about it a lot. And you know what? Because that's the thing about analogies. Sometimes they're pretty fucking analogous. And when they are analogous, it's kind of hard to resist them, especially if there's a little bit of dramatic irony. Now, we are all meant to resist that irony, no matter how dramatic, how obvious, how blatant, and how analogous. But, in Israel, they don't shy away from that shit. And the only difference is when he says this, he is also simultaneously saying that they are going to have 100 to 200,000 Arabs in Gaza left. Yeah, I mean, pretty insane. I don't believe meant for American eyes, but, I appreciate you sending that. And fucking A, man, if that isn't fucking dark as shit. Fuck. He said, what if 2024 is better, you guys? What if it's better? How's my baby? Baby, check. She's still asleep. Let's do a text check. Is my wife coming home? Not yet. At some point she's going to see this, though, and she's going to be like, I thought you were going to play video games. And I'll be like, nah. All right, moving on. Last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. This is a email that I got from a listener, Kim S. I don't want to say the full name because I didn't say whether or not I was actually going to, publish their email. But Kim, thank you so much. And by the way, if you want to email, I did start a Bad Hasbara email account, badhasbara@gmail.com. Email me if you are someone who, if you want to say something nice, if you want to fucking, just vibe, whatever, send me a funny photo, please do. If you want to tell me about your time as a Zionist, there's been a good amount of that, of people who are former Zionists who have, seen the light and are like, holy fuck, these guys are psychos, not sociopaths. They weren't made. They were born that way. No, they were made too. But yeah, so Kim says, Matt, I was at the If Not Now rally and shut down at Hollywood Highland. Loved everything you had to say. Thank you. She said a bunch of nice stuff. She says, I used to work for Hillel and the Jewish Federation. I call that phase of my career my unintentional fast track to anti-Zionism. In the early to mid-aughts, and let me tell you, the Hasbara bullshit for college students was wild. I had to enlist a friend for help in scouring the internet for this because I haven't stopped thinking about it since seeing the unhinged Jew Belong content. But the image I'm linking below was on a postcard among several other images that were designed to be provocative and get students talking about Israel. Enjoy. So she sent me this, and I must share it with everyone here. This is a postcard that she sent. And let me show you. Israel is tiny. Here we go. My God. All right. Okay. Let me see if I can blow this up so everyone can see it. How do I do that? All right, there it is. You can see it. For those of you listening at home, which I hope you are, says Israel. It's a postcard that says Israel not as big as you think, and there is a hot, almost naked man, who is. It looks like he has got his whole body has got borders on it. We've got Mauritania. What do we have? Sudan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. Like, he's cut up, with borders. And right in the middle, right where his cock and balls would be, is a thong that just says Israel on it. He is spread eagle, and we see just as long, and it says Israel not as big as you think. First of all, the messaging here confusing, because if this is pro-Israel, you're kind of talking about the dick size. You're saying something that is objective, not true. Jews' penises many shapes and sizes. Some are big, some are small, some are massive. I mean, mine personally, I think we all know. Talking about the size of a Red Bull, but longer. Not as big as my brother's, size of a Coke can. It's a big dick. Shout out to Evan. You got a big ass dick. Anyways, Israel is tiny. Let's see if I can read this shit. At one spot in its pre-1967 borders, you can drive across its 9-mile width in just a few minutes. Driving from Tel Aviv on the western edge of the country to Jerusalem on the eastern edge takes under an hour. Israel, with its 6.6 million Jewish, Christian, and Muslim citizens in a country the size of New Jersey, is surrounded by 19 Arab and Muslim countries with a landmass and population equal to that of the entire United States. And in bold, it says, now imagine living in New Jersey while most of the people living in the other 49 states want to see you destroyed. Listen, it's quite a message it's like you're saying a lot. It's hard to fully take it all in when you're seeing the guy's little dick. Like all I see is you're saying Israelis have little dicks, and I don't think that's fair. I'm an anti-Zionist, but I'm like, some Israelis don't have little dicks. Some don't, for sure. Like there's just like, listen, I would never paint any people with a broad brush. I would never say there's any ethnicity, nationality, race, whatever out there with the same size dick. Especially, I would never say small. Like, this is just, it's unfair because there's gotta be some Israelis with big dicks. Edo, he's got a big dick. Yeah, my homie Noam, big dick. Yeah, so this is a great thing about working, doing this kind of work is you see a lot of the old Hasbara. You don't hear much about the New Jersey thing anymore. This was a big thing when I went on Birthright. It was like one of the many lines that they had, other than we invented the cherry tomato. It was like they just kept mentioning, it's a state the size of New Jersey. It's only as big as New Jersey. Can you imagine? It's this small country, only the size of New Jersey. And like, I remember at the time being like, it's very specific. I mean, I assumed that like they had done like the square mileage and realized like, yeah, it's about New Jersey. They're not going to say Connecticut. They're like, well, we're bigger than Connecticut. Fuck Connecticut. Massachusetts, not. It's the wrong direction, Massachusetts. Similar in landmass, but the wrong, it's got to be fucking vertical, not horizontal. But yeah, the New Jersey thing was always weird, but I always also heard it in this context, where the context very specifically was that Israel is so tiny, so small. It is so small, so little. It is a small little being who is scared of neighbors, evil neighbors everywhere who want to kill it when they just want to be small bean. That's all Israel is. It's small bean. And sometimes when small bean gets threatened, it turns into big bean by doing genocide. Because it has to, because it's small. It just wants to be warm. It just wants to be warm, small. I don't know, guys. I'm tired. I had to wake up at 6 a.m. You have to listen. I'm not used to doing a podcast, just me talking. All right. Whenever I like to have someone else to talk to, but this was a last minute decision and I'm not regretting it. I'm standing by this decision to just be alone and talk about Israel's shit. But yeah, this entire concept of like Israel's small. What's the big deal? You know, yeah, sure. We know ethnic cleansing is bad, but what if it's only a little bit? What if it's just a teeny tiny ethnic cleanse? It's an ethnic sponge bath. It's not a cleanse. It's just a little spongy. This idea of like Israel being small, kind of goes out the window when you consider that, Gaza, the strip, the small part of the small country, is about the size of Manhattan. And so it's just like, would it be a little bit of ethnic cleansing if Manhattan got ethnic cleansing? I mean, it's just like this idea of Israel being small is meant to frame Israel as this David and Goliath thing. They are always David. They're never Goliath. They can't be because the landmass is small. But then when you look at not just the economics, but also like, the backing, you look at like who is the outpost for Western imperialism, it is fucking Israel. Like who is got the support of the biggest thug on the block, the United States, Israel. There's just this idea that they are a small bean, and therefore anything that they do can only ever be self-defense. It's classic Hasbara. You don't hear about the New Jersey stuff anymore. That was a big one. I would always bring up size of New Jersey. I think it's because they knew that a lot of us, are have New Jersey ancestry. At least I do. So they were like, they'll know where New Jersey is. But yeah, that is just wonderful. I mean, that is fucking beautiful. Thank you, Kim. I love this. And what else did you say? And if you're thinking, this is the rest of the email, and then we'll close it out. Because at some point, my wife's going to be back any minute. And she finds me podcasting. Oh boy, I'm going to get it. And if you're thinking, there's nothing college students love more than dong. So we should hand out condoms that say, Israel, it's safe to come on the wrapper, then you'd be correct. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Let me see this. Okay. Pro-Israel campus condom giveaway raises eyebrows. Get breaking news on Israel. You're already getting it. All right. Sorry, that was a pop-up. Let's see. Oh, do we have a picture? No picture. Oh, okay. This is a large... this is part of a large campaign called Got Israel. Oh, boy. Because remember, milk. And it's only one of only about 5 or 6 programs that they did that got, and it's the only one that got media attention. Yeah. Yeah, condoms that said is okay to come on the wrap. I don't even understand that. Hold on. Condoms prove the point that Israel is the only country in the Middle East in which women and homosexuals are entitled to equal rights. This is an article that came out in the Jewish News of Northern California in 2003. Yes. The condoms come equipped with a card discussing, quote, sexual freedoms and women's rights in different Middle Eastern countries and Israel. It showed the literacy rates of women and the percentage of women employed, whether homosexual is legal. On that basis, people could make their own decisions of how free and democratic Israel is. Is this all on the condom? Are you supposed to read condoms? I haven't been reading. Have I been doing condom wrong? I've not read one. It usually just says on the front, Trojan, Magnum. For me specifically, double XL. I'm so fucking stupid. But not everyone got the joke or cared to. After photos and an article about the late April giveaway appeared in the San Diego Jewish Heritage newspaper, the campus Hillel began receiving some angry phone calls. Executive Director Rabbi Lisa Goldstein confirmed that she has lost some donors, but she would not say how many. Oh, come on. Listen, I'm sure that the reason that they were not donating has nothing to do with apartheid and has everything to do with them being prudes. And I don't approve of prudes, but I do approve of not funding any American Zionist organizations. Anyways, that's incredible. That's a lot of fun. Again, thank you, Kim. It's always beautiful when someone tells me their experience of what it was like for them when they were working, in these types of things, or if they, as some people have been writing in and talking about their own birthright experiences, and we've been, sharing stories and stuff on the Discord, which, by the way, you can join if you go to patreon.com/Frotcast. I need the money, and Vince needs the money, and Vince is great. Vince is wonderful. We talk about movies together. That's what I really like doing. This I like doing too. I've wanted to do this for a while. But sometimes I just want to watch an episode of Downton Abbey, talk about it with some friends. That probably won't be the next show we do. We're still doing The Wire. But someday. I love how I was brave enough to start this podcast, but I am still afraid to start that Downton Abbey rewatch podcast, because I just fear that will appeal to no one. I don't want to alienate people. But I'll talk about Israel all day. I don't give a shit. But when it comes to like Downton Abbey, I just don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want people to be disinterested, But it's such a good show, guys. So good. It's a beautiful show. And this has been a beautiful show. Thanks to anyone who's listening to this episode. If you are listening to this episode on Apple or Spotify or whatever podcast app, if you're on Apple specifically, give it 5 stars in a review. I would love that. That helps people find it. If you're on Spotify, I think you can only give stars, but you can also, there's a Q&A at the end of every episode that I found out, where it just says, how do you like this episode? You can write a message. You can be like, I liked it a lot, or I fucking hate it. I fucking hate that guy. I'm British, and he was doing my accent. But always give 5 stars. That'd be great. If you're watching this on YouTube, fucking cool, I guess. I guess people watch podcasts, and that's why I put it out in video form. I just didn't think people actually watch it, but they're watching it. I don't know why. But anyways, subscribe and hit the bell. Go to the comments section and write something. And don't fucking yell at me about doing too many dick jokes. This is the pod. This is what I do. Like, there are lots of podcasts that I'm sure about, like, people talking about Israel and stuff. This is the one that has me talking about dick jokes and doing British accents and shit. This is that one. So, if you're listening and you like that stuff, sick. Stick around. If you don't like it, that's fine. I don't give a shit. I got a baby. To raise. But yeah, there's a subscribe, write something nice. Patreon.com/Frotcast. Please join, especially if you're someone who views the podcast on YouTube, because, it's better for me, because I can't monetize this shit on YouTube. And also, the ones that I can, I swear, you make like 3 cents. It's fucking crazy. So really, it's a bullshit ass platform. But if you feel like, subscribing just to donate, that's nice. Do it. Please do. Patreon.com/Frotcast. For any questions and comments and concerns and stories or anything, badhasbara@gmail.com. please write to me, and maybe I'll share. Maybe I'll share it on the pod. I don't know. I love emails. I love corresponding with you guys. I love everyone who's actually listening to this shit. Because again, the reason I'm doing this in the fucking, middle of New Year's Eve is because it had been a few days. We went out of town and I was like, I want to do a little episode. Usually I take a lot of care, to like, I got to get guests. I got to make clips. I got to do that. But this one I just do on the fly. And I like that. I like doing it on the fly. And I promise you, this show will get better. Probably, I mean, unfortunately, I think it's going to keep going. If Palestine is free, then I will stop doing this podcast. I'll probably stop doing it before then, because at some point, platforms are going to really start cracking down on this shit. And then I'll be in trouble. But for now, write me, badhasbara@gmail.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, everyone else, thank you again so much for listening to this episode. And until next time,